Psalm 42. As a deer pants for flowing streams, so pants my soul for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? My tears have been my food day and night, while they say to me all the day long, where is your God? These things I remember as I pour out my soul, how I would go with the throng and lead them in procession to the house of God, with glad shouts and songs of praise, a multitude keeping festival. Why are you downcast, O my soul, and why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation and my God. My soul is cast down within me. Therefore I remember you from the land of Jordan and of Hermon and of Mount Mizar. Deep calls to deep at the roar of your waterfalls. All your breakers and waves have gone over me. By day the Lord commands his steadfast love, and at night his song is with me, a prayer to the God of my life. I say to God, my rock, why have you forgotten me? Why do I go mourning because of the oppression of the enemy? As with deadly wound in my bones, my adversaries taunt me, while they say to me all the day long, where is your God? Why are you cast down, O my soul? And why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation and my God. So this psalm has been a really sweet psalm to me in a lot of times of unrest or just sorrow. I think because it's not a really happy psalm, and it just gives us an opportunity to be real and raw before the Lord and pour out our soul. But the one picture that really stands out to me in it is turmoil. And so my very first summer working at Snowbird, we were all training to be raft guides for the Nantahala, and a bunch of us got this idea for some reason the last day that we were going to swim down the last rapids, down the falls, without a boat on purpose. And so I remember watching a few people go, and I was just ready. I was like, all right, I've watched how everybody did it. You got to line up, swim really hard to the opposite bank so you could get lined up the best way to go down the rapids. And so I jumped in, and I went for it, and I swam as hard as I could. And then there's just this point where the rapid just takes over, and you have no control anymore, and it just sweeps you down over the falls. And there's a stretch of time, which feels really long, but it's probably really only a matter of seconds, where you're totally at the mercy of the water. And 1 second your head's above water, and the next second you're just totally submerged, and all you hear is water, and all you see is water, and all you feel is water, and in every direction there's just this powerful water pounding and churning, and for a moment it even overrules the floating of your life jacket, and you're just under, and up and down cease to exist. You don't know which way to swim, even if you could swim, and everything is just totally disorienting. And then, just like that, the rapids spit me out, and my life jacket popped me up to the surface, and I grabbed a throw rope and pulled up my shorts and swam to the side, and it was fine. But if I had to think of one word to describe being in the middle of that rapid, it would be turmoil. And so when this psalmist is talking about his soul being in turmoil, that's the picture I have in my head, just this state of violent churning, of unpredictable emotion, of hope and lament and joy and sorrow and anger and fear and trust, and just it's as if his circumstances have left him totally disoriented and unsure of the up and down of life. And he's trying to grab hold of truth, but he can't seem to hold his grip for long, and he surfaces and breathes in this deep breath of hope just to be sucked back under into despair. And it just seems to be totally at the mercy of his circumstances. But the reality and the truth is that circumstances don't reign supreme. Jesus does. And so, when we're listening to this psalm, and he talks about calling, the deep calls to deep at the roar of your waterfalls, and all your breakers and your waves have gone over me. It's who separated the deep from the deep? Jesus did. Who silences stormy seas with his word? Jesus does. So even when that churning leaves us shaken, he's steadfast. And even when it feels like our grip on him is slipping, his grip on us is not. And that has been such a great comfort to me, especially in light of everything that's been going on recently, because it does feel like turmoil. It feels like everything around us is just churning and unpredictable, and a lot of times, honestly, it feels that way within us and within me, that there's just an unpredictability and a churning, and days that I feel totally okay with everything, and days when I feel like this, where it's like tears have been my food day and night, and I'm fighting back emotions and tears that I don't even know why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, but I know that there's turmoil. And so I've been looking to this psalm as a pattern of being real and raw before the Lord and crying out, but also as a pattern of speaking truth to myself. And I think we see that in this psalm when he is, my tears have been my food day and night, and there's clearly like an anguish and a despair, and then he follows that with saying, these things I remember. So he's intentionally remembering. He's intentionally reflecting on who God is and what he's done and his faithfulness. And I think even in this part right here, one of the first things he remembers is the joy of worshiping the Lord with other people. And that right now is really true to us too. He's thinking, I remember how I would lead them in procession to the house of God with glad shouts and songs of praise. And so just, even that, we can reflect on that same thing. But there's this refrain throughout it where he's like, but I'm still downcast. And then he continues to say to himself, hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation and my God. And he remembers. And that is the thing that I think that we can do right now, is just remember who God is and what he's done. He remembers his faithfulness. He remembers that even all of these circumstances are within the sovereign good hand of the Lord. And he, in verse 8, we see that where he says, by day the Lord commands his steadfast love, and at night his song is with me. And even as he cries out and says, why have you forgotten me? I think, again, that's just, he is getting to be so real and raw before the Lord that that's how he feels. And he knows truth, and we can see that. But he's also crying out to the Lord exactly where he is. So what I take away from this psalm is that when we are in a place of turmoil and uncertainty and we feel shaken, one, we can be confident that the Lord still has us, that he is steadfast and he is not shaken. He has his grip on us just as sure as he does any other time. And that while we can be real and raw and cry out to him in any emotion that we are experiencing, or any despair or anything like that, we can also speak truth to ourselves and remember his faithfulness, remember who he is and what he's done, and take comfort and hope in that, and know that we can say this with the psalmist say, hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation and my God.